Hi, this is Kylie Coo. Welcome to my studio, and welcome to week 14 of creating a positivity deck. So as always, I start in the same way by journaling some thoughts about my word for this week. And my word for this week is stretch. So this is the second word in the rise state of being. Last week we had awaken, and this week it's stretch. And when I started to think about stretch, there were two other words that came back to mind that I'd previously looked at. The first being breathe, and I could remember talking then about how you sometimes breathe into something to stretch further. You know, often in yoga or in exercise, you breathe and then stretch. So I wanted again to look at what it said in breathe. And there I'm just actually stretching my hands, stretching my fingers. You know, it's something that I like to do, especially before I sit down to create. I just like to stretch my fingers out. And the other word I looked back on was focus, where I talked about bringing some things into focus. Because in both breathe and focus, there were things that I had journaled down, just bullet points, that were things that I want to do. So there were things about clearing space, and there were things about, I guess, creative things. And those felt very right for the word stretch as well. So I do a bit of journaling here. I don't show it all because you've seen me do this before. But I was talking about, I enjoy stretching in the morning when I wake up. I enjoy stretching during exercise or during yoga or after meditating. And also before creating, I like to stretch. But that got me thinking about stretching creatively as well. And it was something that I'd invite you to think about, how might you stretch? Stretch for your goals, stretch for your dreams, stretch creatively. So when I sat down to do my card, I decided to do a bit of collage. I just looked out a few bits and pieces. And I kind of had in my mind that I might do something like a hand, because I'd stretched my hands and that was just, I guess, what was in my mind. But I started to put down the collage papers, and I'm just using a glue stick, and I'm just putting them horizontally across the card. So I had this piece that's, I don't know, it's got 2 or 3 different colours in it. I think this was a piece left over from some jelly printing quite some time ago. But even as I started to put these down, I started to feel that they were akin to hills. I just pull that one up again because I don't want the straight edge of the one above it. And when I put this one in place, I could certainly see some hills starting to form. So already I was starting to stretch my mind creatively. And I pulled out this piece and I saw a bird. In particular, I saw a golden eagle. And suddenly my notion of perhaps putting a hand on here changed to something quite different. But I continued on with my collage. I still wanted to do it horizontally with this kind of dark blue purpley piece. So I keep going with this. And as always, just enjoying the process of, the very simple process of just tearing some paper and putting some glue on it and sticking it down. And that's the thing about, creating generally, not just with these cards, but certainly with these cards as well. I'm not always looking to make this a complex process. And, if you've not been making cards so far, but you feel you want to, then, stretch into it. Just do a card. It doesn't need to be something terribly difficult. And that's really what I'm enjoying about these cards. Each one is slightly different, but many of them are very straightforward to make. But where I'm stretching is actually I suppose in a sense, in my mind, when I look at the pieces and just see what these could possibly be. So I'm stretching my imagination in a sense. So I tear those little bits off, and I was going to just fill in the little pieces at the top there. But then I decided that because they were so small, and because it was only a glue stick that I was using, that they might actually just break away. So instead I just take another piece and just overlap it. So I'm now just going to smooth that out with a very well used but dry baby wipe, just pushing it down to make sure that it's fully adhered to the card. And then once that's done, all I'll do is to cut around the edges. So I'm now looking at this other piece, and I can definitely see a bird, a golden eagle in particular. So I'm just taking a pencil and just really drawing around it at this stage to see that I can actually make it into what I think it is. And then once I've done that, I'll cut that out, and I just check it against a card just to see how it will fit in. So I now decide to take a little bit of white gesso and just a dry brush, and all I'm going to do is just knock that colour back a little bit. It wasn't necessarily the best brush to use for this. I would have preferred a flat brush, but it was just the one that came to hand first of all. And, you know, as I always say, you work with what you've got. So I just work away at this for a few seconds. And once that's done, I start to then, again, just using the glue stick, glue my eagle into place. Now, you might ask, what does eagle have to do with the word stretch? Honestly, I have no idea. But I will associate this card in a very positive way to stretching creatively, stretching my imagination to come up with the bird that I just happened to see on that piece of scrap paper. So that's how it will work in a positive sense for me as part of my positivity deck. So again, just using the dried baby wipe just to push that down and into place. So I'm now using some Inktense pencils, and I'm just going to use those just to add a little bit of colour, not too much, and also a little bit of definition. And all I'll do is use really just a little bit of water just to smooth those out a little bit. And I do draw some of the colour down. Now, I can't decide if these are clouds, or sky anyway, with clouds, or more hills and mountains in the background, but regardless of what they are or aren't, I just use some of the antique white just to add a bit of highlight to those. And again, I'll just use some water just to draw that down a little bit and to blend it out a little bit. And I'm now just going to use a Stabilo wool just to give a bit of definition around the eagle and also to the hills. Just helps them stand out a little bit, although I will use again a little bit of water just to blend that out a little bit. And now I'll just use the Stabilo wool to add a bit of a border. It just helps draw the eye into the card, and it helps frame the card. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of water to my finger just to help blend that out a little bit. Now I'll just take it wasn't quite what I thought. I'm now taking a jelly roll pen in white. I'm just going to add some little highlights here and there. Now it doesn't work too well over the Inktense, but it adds sufficient. So just adding a little bit of white into the eagle's eye. And just some tiny bits on the feathers. Now I'll just take a black fine liner just to put my word in, and just looking at where I want to put it. So I'm going to write the word stretch, but I'm almost actually stretching the letters out as well. Hesitated there slightly because I wasn't sure that I'd got the spelling right. I had to stop and look at it a couple of times. and then I'll just go over that again. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you will think about the word stretch, and as I say, several ways to think about it in terms of your body and how you stretch, also in terms of your goals and dreams and how you can stretch into them, and also how you might stretch creatively. So as always, I will sit with my journal for just a moment once the card's complete and just look at the journaling, just look at my card and really associate those positive things that I've written with this card. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing comments that you're leaving. Thanks to the other YouTubers doing this, and thank you to those in the Facebook group. Bye for now.